Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to another stream of Magic the Gathering Arena. Today is Wednesday, April 8th. We're going to be playing Magic. Yeah, I don't know what I was gonna say there. I don't have a setup for that. I was gonna warn it, like I haven't slept in a while, so this will probably be a somewhat shorter stream. It probably was gonna be a shorter stream anyways, just on the fact that there really isn't a ton of news. Daily deals, which really aren't daily deals, they're like bi-daily deals because they reset every 12 hours or so. Not offering anything amazing here, just a bunch of skins. I didn't play yesterday. I did finish Curse of the Monkey Island for the accountability section, and I did actually schedule videos, which did reveal to me that my pre-recorded, like me re-releasing and rerunning the Magic the Gathering episodes had stopped for maybe a week or two. That really just goes to show how little attention I've been paying to scheduling videos. So those are rescheduled, but we're going to shift at some point to weekends only anyways, so they are rescheduled now. So starting this weekend on Saturday, you'll get one live stream, 3 to 4 hours of Magic the Gathering rerun, and on Sunday you'll get another one. And then pretty much for Monday through Friday, you're getting one pre-recorded episode. And then on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you get the live stream of the most recent Magic Arena, the non-rerun version. That's pretty much is where we boiled down to. I've just been unmotivated, and then on top of that, I eventually hurt my back, and that became a problem, and then just things keep piling on, and that's probably how it feels for a lot of people these days, and that definitely is how it's felt for a lot of people throughout all of history. So I don't want to whine too much, but yeah, I am kind of down to one pre-recorded footage. I think once I get enough footage to go to October, we'll get back to having maybe 3 things air on Monday, on weekdays. 3 pre-recorded games, because there is just a lot of Halloween horror games to cover, as there always is. And then it'll be a point of reevaluating. I guess we just need to play some blue. And we've got kind of nothing to do with blue. We can either play this mill deck that doesn't work, or this blue and white deck that doesn't work, and that's about it. So yeah, I've definitely slowed down after 5 years of trying to be a successful YouTube content creator. YouTube's changed a lot for the worse in the 5 years that I've been doing it. I started off, I got very hot and heavy on making a lot of content, and there's definitely like over 5,000 videos on my channel to go back and for people to check. But then I just looked at like the copyright claimed videos that I have, of which I don't have a lot, and looked at the total number of views there, and then I looked at like the total number of views I've gotten on any specific one video, and those are all pretty low numbers, with the exception of my best viewed video, which is how to set up OBS and use Hearthstone Deck Tracker, which is a how-to video for a very old version of Hearthstone Deck Tracker and OBS, so it's not relevant at all. And it's a how-to video. It doesn't have anything to do with video game criticism. I just threw it up there. So video gaming has always been defocused by YouTube. It's pretty obvious. Max is on the chat. He says, hey Max, I see you there. I didn't want to let that sit and be unnoticed. But yeah, I'm just kind of burnt out, and I don't know what would really undo that other than just some major magical success. A ton of steam. I've said it 100 times before, but a ton of steam was pulled out of my engine as once they changed the rules and kicked small YouTube creators out of the partner program. I felt like there was a small reward, a growing possibility of success back when I was getting like 7 cents a week for making content, and after that happened about a year plus ago, about 14 months, 15 months ago, it became a lot harder to try to start over and try to get to the new goalpost of 1,000 subscribers, which once I get 1,000 subscribers, almost certainly they'll move the goalpost again and still not get any ad revenue. And yeah, I really don't even want to whine about that. Draw X cards where whenever you cast a blue spell, tap target non-land. I think I can only pay 1 to play this, and that's gonna draw 1 card. But yeah, there's really nothing else to say. I finished Curse of Monkey Island. I hated Curse of Monkey Island, if I didn't make that clear. Without Ron Gilbert's writing, it really was just terrible in a lot of different ways. That the puzzles had things wrong with it that are kind of consistently wrong with point and click adventures, particularly old point and click adventure games, where the puzzle solutions are obtuse and they often use crazy moon logic that nobody would possibly know the solution. I had to, on several occasions, 3 or 4, look up the answer as far as what I was supposed to even be doing through a walkthrough. But that wasn't even really the major problem. The major problem is the game was just not good. It just wasn't written well. It was trying to really, like, I believe Curse Monkey Island came out 6 years after the sequel of Monkey Island 1, so Curse of Monkey Island is Monkey Island 3. And that was a worse option. What I just did there, I should have played this. But yeah, it really tried to recontextualize and say that the ending that I kind of hated of Monkey Island 2, which I would argue I mostly liked everything about Monkey Island 2 until I got to the ending. It spent a long part of the last chapter just locking you into a dialogue selection options that would just recontextualize and re-explain everything that had happened in the previous games, making callbacks and throwing out remember berries of the older games instead of doing anything new or different, which is a major problem. And since I kind of played the games out of order and played the Telltale Monkey Island game that was a reboot, by comparison, the characterizations and the new characters in that game are way, way better than the characters, and which are just the same characters from the previous two Monkey Island games. Like they really didn't do anything new or different, and it's just really annoying because of that. Let's see. All we're really doing right now is trying to, let's see, can we pay 2? Nope. Can we pay 1? Why can't I pay 1? I clicked it too many times. Yeah, but it's no wonder that Ron Gilbert wants to buy that. Tweeted that he wanted to buy back the Monkey Island series from now Disney, and that owns LucasArts, and he would reset the game after the first two, which is what he wrote for, and his writing was just way better. And I don't have any special love for Ron Gilbert per se. He's just obviously good at writing point-and-click adventure games, and arguably single-handedly number of cards equal to their hand. Alright. So I'm gonna do 5. Can't do 5, I can do 3. I should have. Wait a minute. That didn't play the way it should have. This guy's gonna block me. So I'm gonna do no attack. I don't even know what I'm trying to win, how I'm trying to win here. He's gonna play more flying characters, and I'm gonna be incapable of fixing that problem. In fact, I just helped him by having him draw a bunch of cards, which is the danger of a mill deck that is around the idea of drawing cards. Let's see. If I do this, and then how many cards do I have? 35? There's no way I'm gonna win this. It seems like they programmed it to double. It is just kind of like doubling up. So I could win if I could get past those two, but I can't. Then we're down to 31 to 30. I could have been trying to mill myself, but that wouldn't have worked either. Alright, I guess we at this point should just start going through the news. There's not really going to be any major bit of news. The biggest thing, and this really is a statement more about just how no games have come out, no games are going to be coming out anytime soon, and And so there's very little things to talk about. The biggest story that has caught in any fire or attraction is simply the Cooking Mama on the Nintendo eShop appearing and then disappearing, and there being at first accusations that it was a crypto miner. People have decompiled it and said they don't think it's a crypto miner. Now, then there was accusations that it had music directly stolen and ripped from YouTube, which somewhat believable, but still crazy nonetheless. And then I think at the current moment we're at the realm of thinking that it simply was a game that was just so incredibly bad that the owners of the Cooking Mama series are trying to stop it from being sold and pull it from sale, which one would assume that they would have the legal right to do that. And yet it doesn't seem like that is completely guaranteed to be the case. So there definitely are some shenanigans going on around this, but I don't even know if there's enough shenanigans here, or enough interest really, since it's a Cooking Mama game, for there to be anywhere as big of a scandal as that they are making it out to be. People are talking about it. It almost certainly wouldn't be the first time that a terrible Cooking Mama game was released on some platform. Usually, I'm fairly certain there was a browser-based Cooking Mama game that was pretty bad, or a cell phone-based Cooking Mama game that was pretty bad. Speaking of cell phone games, I finished playing the clicker Alter Ego. Did everything on that idle clicker that you could do without buying the 3 pieces of DLC. It took less than 22 days, and had I been not using an ad blocker, which would have really ruined the experience quite a bit because it's just so chock full of ads, but had I actually been watching ads, I would have gotten boosts and bonuses that would have taken less time. A really bad experience for an idle clicker game that you might want to play with forever, or might want to be able to paragon and play over and over again. There seems to be really no feature built around doing that. There are 3 endings. Once you get the 3rd true ending, you are pretty much done with the game, or at least you're supposed to be. So yeah, done with that. I'm also done with Monument Valley 2. I think I already mentioned that. That was a couple days ago. Played all of that, got all the achievements on that, and I am done with replaying Tomb Raider Go. And it does seem like at this point that they have really stopped giving away any games on Steam or cell phones games. I think anybody that was going to make that offer has either decided they're not going to continue to make that offer, or they've already done it, or they're not going to make the offer or they've already done it. Although there is a YouTube channel by Andrew Lloyd Webber called The Show Must Go On that is live streaming Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals. They're doing Jesus Christ Superstar this Friday before Easter. Well, not that Jesus Christ Superstar is a canonical or even particularly Christian depiction of the last days of Christ, but it's a fun presentation. It'll be interesting to see which of the many presentations they decide to stream. NBC is airing the the newest made-for-TV presentation that was made a couple years ago and aired on Fox. They're doing that, I believe, on Saturday on TV. But other Android Lloyd Webber musicals are streaming. They seem to be live streaming and not something that you can watch after the fact, which is a weird experience for YouTube. Certainly not something I'm used to, and it's might be a lot closer to the Google Play movies and rentals, which is another thing that they've integrated into YouTube to replace actual YouTube content creators. But it is something worth mentioning and isn't getting anywhere as much coverage as you might think. Just because people are busy, I'm sure. There's really, I don't think any other way to put it. And yeah, that only really applies to people that like musicals. Video games and musicals, I'll quickly mention. Sadly, only a couple of games like that. Like the Double Fine game with Jack Black, Heavy Metal, has a lot of music in it and is kind of a rock opera musical. And then there was another interesting game that was programmed pretty poorly that was a musical that came out several years ago. But that's about it. I think the truth is you have to be particularly good at writing and composing music, and video game music in particular is a great example of music that's not really something you can appreciate as much as you should be able to appreciate. Oops. I did not want to summon that. I wanted to cast its spell. Why did it do that? Oh. But yeah, most video game music, very unique, very bland, very calming, like what we're hearing now. Not something that you could put that they could afford to have writers put words behind and try and do something there. A Telltale game, or any game that is just mostly QuickTime events, would probably be the best suited for something that was a more musically inclined game that's not a rhythm game. And I guess you could certainly take some of the mechanics of rhythm games and play musical music around it, but that would probably be slightly distracting too. They really are just very different genres, and I don't even know if the fandom overlaps at all. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't really overlap. Okay, I can't cast this yet. I'm at 46, he's at 48. Yeah, and I don't have anything else to talk about. The longer and longer all this social isolating goes on, the less and less news happens, and then the less games come out, and we'll have to rethink how we do this whole thing. I've always been of the opinion, and I think the law definitely would agree here, that a no commentary silent playthrough does not fall under fair use, nor does it fall under any kind of thing that you would call artistic creation or interesting content, in my opinion. So the idea of just sitting here and just playing and not talking would be a little objectionable to me. It's not something I'd want to do. But if I actually run out of news and we've got less than 10 minutes of content, if some Wednesday or Friday came around and there's just nothing to talk about at all, I don't know what we do there. We probably would just lollygag and talk. Yeah, at a certain point, if things slow down, I'll just continue to watch more things on Netflix or even Amazon Prime Video. Like, I'm watching the Mind Japanese mystery. It's kind of like a play, basically a one room locked in a room mystery puzzle experience. It's worth watching, but there are two interesting things you have to be aware of. There is one that they speak only Japanese. Now, they are a pop group that are all the actresses, so some production company collected a bunch of Japanese girls to be a pop group, and then they gave them some promotion by having them be in a TV series. But because they are young girls, they don't speak, I would imagine, particularly difficult Japanese, but it's still Japanese, which is generally particularly difficult to understand. But they don't say anything or speak so fast that the subtitles are going to get in the way. Also, since they're kind of locked in a room, you don't really have to look at the actual screen too much. There is a nice comparison. Like, if you ever wondered why, actually I just watched a YouTube video better explaining why anime characters have such wild and crazy hair and different colors and all of that, and they explained it a lot better. But if you ever wondered what the initial impulse of having characters with wild and crazy colorful hair, looking at every single character from Remind, they all have black hair. They are all Japanese. They are all the same age. It is very, very easy to not know who you're looking at, and they are literally chained to their chairs. So that is a benefit of the viewer, so that they don't walk around and confuse the issue more. But yeah, that I got halfway through rewatching that, and anything I choose to watch twice does kind of speak volumes to the quality of something. I think I already talked about watching The Ledge, which was a Spanish movie, and I recommend watching that too. Also goes to show my viewing style quite a bit that I'm not mentioning any English shows. Because, yeah, in that category, Netflix really isn't knocking the ball out of the park. Right. Whenever you draw a card, you may pay 1 if you do create a 1/1 counter and create a tentacle token. Okay. So we have a game here on Steam called Dark Disharmony, which is a point-and-click adventure game, but it seems to be a one-screen point-and-click adventure game, which I can't even say this looks like a mobile game. It just looks like a low-effort concept, like that you wouldn't even change the background, change the screen at all. 86 cents, discounted, English only. Definitely nothing there to catch anybody's attention. if you were going to have a one screen game, that one screen would have to look particularly enticing. Next we have a game called Knock on the Coffin Lid, which looks like it is maybe a Nordic Slay the Spire Darkest Dungeon type game. Nothing looks wrong here. It's early access. It's $9.99. It's English and Russian, so I'll not use the original bias and just knock it out because it has Russian as a language, but that is concerning, certainly. But the quality of the game itself looks good enough that this doesn't feel like a low effort game. And a game like Knock on the Coffin Lid potentially has the chance of becoming really, really popular right about now, as it's cheap, as it's something new, as it's a somewhat familiar gameplay mechanic, but not a completely worn out gameplay mechanic. I wanted to mention CD Projekt Red is going into a dangerous area here, where they have a picture here of their offices, and it's very, very well decorated and decked out, and then they specifically tweeted out this cyberpunk themed waiting room, and that is just dangerous, because it was only maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago that I think it was an anime company, but a company of a similar rabid fan base was upset to see that money was not getting reinvested to either pay the creators or into the game itself, which it does kind of fall under that dangerous scenario where there are some CD Projekt Red employees that have complained about the management not listening to them, and the writer of The Witcher definitely complained very loudly that he wasn't paid enough for The Witcher. So flexing in general, as the kids call it, never a good idea. You just shouldn't do it. I'm willing to tolerate YouTubers having a nice background and having a bunch of Funko Pops and like memorabilia in the background. At a certain point, if you've got shelves where it's just stacks on stacks on stacks of things, it's getting a little crazy though. And if you are following a specific content creator, I'm thinking of one in particular, I don't want to name, but I know one content creator in particular that seemingly every couple weeks adds another not hugely expensive thing, but valuable thing on their shelf. And it's just like, man, you just keep on flexing and you just keep on flexing, and it's like, you're gonna get a backlash from that, certainly. And it's not even good content creation in general, because you kind of want a consistent background in case you decide to just to make the show feel the same way, or perhaps if you were to decide to do some editing later on that would require you to edit out the background or something. Yeah, I don't know what you would specifically want to do, but yeah, you do that initial investment on your stage, your background, whatever you're going to shoot with your webcam, and that's it. And then you should just leave it that way until a couple years have gone by, and then maybe you redo things. I've certainly seen some YouTube content creators also that like to seemingly move their setup from room to room in the same house over and over again, and it's kind of silly. go. So now whenever I draw a card, this should put a 1/1 on both of these. I did look. I'm trying to see if I can find a new software that might help me make sure things are recording and streaming. Speaking of which, I did consistently forget to do this. And like whenever you start streaming, the page to stream is always open, so that becomes a problem. Because it's wasting bandwidth. But yeah, I found in the OBS plugins there is a plugin specifically to help you set up and use iPhones, old iPhones or your current iPhone, it doesn't really matter, as a camera, which would certainly be useful for people with iPhones. So there's a software out there for Android phones and iPhones to use them using, I think both using NDI, but even if not using NDI, the Android one still works. So draw a card and then discard a card. Yeah, so yeah, if people had been collecting their old cell phones by now, you could easily have 3 or 4 cell phones that still, maybe they have cracked screens or something, but their cameras would still work, and then you potentially might end up paying more just to get a stand, like a boom mic stand that you can attach or tape your phone to use as like a camera stand, and then just have it plugged in. You could have several cameras going, although you do run into this to a lot of extra work when you start having to color balance multiple cameras, multiple lenses, and quality balance, and try to make it all look the same. There's nothing more annoying. Well, there's a lot of things that are more annoying, but one of the annoying things out there definitely is to have somebody cut to one camera and it look completely different than all the other cameras in the room. And that's why most professionals setups use the exact same cameras and then still have to light balance and do a bunch of extra work to make sure everything works. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. The Japanese rating board Sero has announced a temporary closure, which, okay, so that means what I had heard is that they were actually sending inspectors to different people's offices instead of the game developers sending their games to Sero's office, I guess for security reasons. That kind of makes sense, and it's not like Japan is a hugely large island, Sero being the Japanese video game reviewing board. But with no Japanese video games being reviewed, it seems highly unlikely that any Japanese made games are going to come over to the West in an unreviewed fashion or come out earlier than the Japanese fashion. If it's one thing that they're fairly consistent about, they want the Japanese game to come out earlier or at the same time as the Western releases. So that pretty much, as long as their temporary closure lasts, it pretty much kills Japanese made games in a very similar way to the Chinese made games being very much limited based on approval ratings of the Chinese board. It's a slightly different scenario. In theory, Japanese companies could release the games without a Sarah rating, but they wouldn't want to do that just because of tradition, and I'm sure somebody would be upset if they did that. So that kind of only leads, like, maybe a Korean or Taiwanese or Philippine game company, as far as an Asian game company, maybe an Indian game company to release an incredibly small number of games. But pretty much for the East, I'd say we're as close to a full stop as you might ever get. I'm just gonna kill this guy. He's just gonna try and pull the same trick multiple times, I think. So yeah, more of a slowdown. Moving forward, we have a game on Steam called Endless Savagery. I'll probably lose this Hearthstone game. This just looks like a blocky first-person player versus player. It's not first-person, top-down shooter. $2.69, whole bunch of languages. Allegedly full audio support in all of them. So, yeah. Probably gonna lose here, but remember, all we needed to do was play card games, and so that was it. Next, we have a game on Steam called Sophie's Cube, and this may look very familiar. In fairness, this is a single screen white background Unity game, but it does seem like it has taken the concepts of a Rubik's Cube with multiple skins and multiple variants of it and offered probably something more than Hasbro has been able to offer, which I believe owns Rubik's Cubes now. This kind of looks like everything you would want. It's $2.24, so I'm gonna just put this on the following list, see if it gets any reviews. It seems like you can even custom paint and image your own cube, which is quite interesting. English only. I imagine you probably wouldn't need to read anything to play this, and it does seem like you can just go way higher than even is realistic for somebody to build. I've seen perhaps 10 by 10s as far as cubes, but I don't think I've seen anything higher than that. So yeah, that might be a seller. Might be willing to buy that. On the other hand, do you really want to play a Rubik's Cube game on your computer and not perhaps your cell phone instead? Or would you prefer something? Would you prefer to just, let's see. Would you prefer to play a real Rubik's Cube in your hands? I think really most people would prefer to just own a real Rubik's Cube and play with it in your hands and fidget. There is something to be said for having interesting little fidget toys instead of everything being digital. And the price of a real, like, Rubik's Cube is not incredibly expensive unless you're gonna get like the super expensive kickstarted one that's digital and can tell how you're twisting it and report back to the internet. There is one like that that was slightly interesting to look at, but I don't think I'd actually ever purchase it. This guy has death touch, but if I don't have enough characters to block him. Alright. Auto pay, auto pay. Do that. How many cards do I have? 39 to 46. Auto pay, auto pay. Everything here has death touch though. So what I should do is attack with this and then attack with this, but I should do that next turn, just attack with a bunch of those. Yeah, I don't know if there really is a victory scenario here. Next we have on Steam Sakura Girls. It's not a Friday, but here we have anime girls in jigsaw puzzle forms. One assumes that they license these images. We've been seeing a slight slowdown on these low effort games, but not as much as anything else. 69 cents, bunch of languages. Nothing here of real interest. And this background is terrible as a background choice because it blends in way too much and it's way too busy and way too visually attractive for a background image. The background image should probably be a solid color and dull and not catching of the eye. Next we have a game that's just a bunch of Asian characters. Looks like it's a cell phone port of a Candy Crush clone. Probably a Chinese game. Early access, English not supported, Chinese. Yep. So nothing there for the follow list. I guess if I got desperate enough and could sit in a chair and not be pained by the act of sitting in a chair, I might choose at some point to do a follow list cleanup. It really hasn't been 6 months though since the last one. And there's better things I could do with my time. Certainly I could instead just continue to pre-record footage and play more games. That's really what I should do. Okay. That was one. We got one guy down. Now we just need to get several more guys down. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called The Last Turret, which looks like it's just an asset flip, low polygon space game. Seems like it's probably a tower defense / space game. $3.74 discounted, English only, nothing there. Again. Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Dreamscape Prologue, which looks slightly interesting, visually polished. Seems like it's the idea of a... Is it Dreamscaper? Prologue? I guess it is. It's a free-to-play fantasy game because it's a demo, single player only. English full audio, then Chinese, which is a little suspect. And I don't know where you really go with a game that's DLC or a demo. All they're really showing you is 3 or 4 areas though, also, so this is a potential just low effort rogue-like game where you dream, it puts you in a random area, you fight some enemies, you eventually get defeated, then you wake up and then repeat. They're calling it an RPG game, but yeah, if you assume that most of these scenes are just small little roads that enemies pop up and you have to fight, that would be pretty dull. Right, here we go. This guy could buff up his character. So yeah, I guess we'll put the demo on the fall list and we'll see if the actual game ever comes out. If it does, then we'll at that point reevaluate. 36 to 44. Okay. So at what point do I start attacking here? Because I can just keep on drawing and keep on drawing, certainly, but I'd have to play very weirdly. I guess I could start attacking with the flying guy if the flying guy was stronger than the guy with reach. That's about it, though. Next we have a game called Geometry Arena, which looks to me like it's probably a low effort asteroids game. Yep. Early access to 33 English and Chinese. It's somewhat notable that the low effort Chinese games coming out on Steam have not really changed much. I assume that's because these games were already developed, or they were being developed by a single person in their bedroom anyways, so there wasn't any real slowdown there. These low effort games that show up on Steam don't seem like they are going through that Chinese approval process or trying to actually be sold in China. They very well may have been games that have already been sold in China for years, and they're just now slowly getting released to the rest of the world, much to the dismay of anybody who actually wants to play a good game. I should have probably blocked him with one guy, come to think of it. Next we have Quiplash International, Quiplash 2 International. I think this probably is just Quiplash 2 with more languages. $9.99. But oddly, I don't think this is the same Let's see if we can find Quiplash 2 listed otherwise. Seems like, yeah. Either there's never been a solo Quiplash game, which is very possible, because they have been doing these Jackbox party packs as developers, Jackbox Games, which oddly they don't even have the older games. Oh, because I already own them. Hide ignored games, hide items in my inventory. Yeah, the You Don't Know Jack games are there. Hide items in my wish list. Unfortunately, yeah, Quiplash I already own. Alright, so. But it doesn't seem like there is a Quiplash 2. Let's see. I'm gonna save one of these. Yeah, let's not. Yeah, let's save one of these. And then attack. And see what he wants to do with that. 5 attackers. Will he block any of them at all? Interesting. Might as well. Yeah, I'm trying to select this player character. It says target a player, and nowhere can I click. Is it letting me target a player? It's just not working on either. Wow. Magic Arena screwing the pooch yet again. Like, just not letting me do the thing you should be able to do. Yeah, I was gonna cover a lot of the You Don't Know Jack series, which is single player, and then all the other Jackbox party packs require friends. So I wouldn't mind owning them just to support the creators, but I almost certainly would never play them. So they're hardly high priority games. Let's see, Gematsu here. I imagine we're going to have very few Gematsu articles if no Japanese games are going to get rated going forward. Arcade adventure game Microman announced for the PS5, Xbox Series X, Switch, and PC. Due out first for the PC in the second half of 2021. Apparently this is a game where you play as a small man. There's, I believe, a rumor out there that Xbox One X's, I think they have been either run out of those or they have decided to stop with those because like it seems like there's lesser of those available right now. One would assume because they're anticipating a let's hit that one and hit that one and then screwed up there. And you're screwed up. Screwed up there. And you're screwed up there. Is there anything that's not going for a kill? There we go. But it doesn't really matter. He's just going to make a bunch of clones of them, isn't it? Isn't it? So yeah, I don't know if that rumor is really true or not. I suspect it probably isn't, but yep. Sorry, I'm going quiet there. I was trying to get my ad blocker to stop YouTube videos from popping up these scrolling recommendations. I don't think I can do that. There was a way I got it to work once, I think, but I don't remember how I did it. And I do recall it seemed like it was a lot of extra work to get it to work. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article, The Idolmaster Starlight Season of Nicho Net Chokagi 2020 broadcast set for April 19th has now been cancelled. This is the beginnings of the lockdown in Japan. It is worth mentioning, like, although constitutionally, and quite oddly, the Japanese government, based on the constitution that the United States wrote for them, does not have the authority to do a pandemic lockdown, but they will suggest it, and the Japanese people in general will follow that suggestion. Well, I would say more than in general, they will follow that instruction and suggestion. So we probably will see quite a lot of things getting canceled and things not happening now that the Japanese are going to be taking it seriously, or more seriously. And certainly with their population being increasingly elderly, they really can't afford to lose a large amount of their population. Let's see. YouTube creator 16 hours ago tweeted, "What's inspiring you to create this week?" which is a pretty lame tweet for no reason. It's unimaginative. It's just like trying to start a conversation. It's a lame conversation starter, and they really haven't tweeted anything kind of like that so much before. Well, April 2nd, whose videos get you through the day. So somebody's trying to gain some engagement with YouTube creators, whereas mostly they're known for putting out videos that explain what they're going to do to ruin YouTube this week with their creator update series, which I've fallen particularly far behind because I've just grown tired of listening to them. It's like, yeah, we're going to do the YouTube studio. I just spent yesterday scheduling 30 or so videos on the YouTube studio, and let me tell you, the website sucks. It runs so slow. It's so laggy. It runs into bugs. It's way worse than what they had before. Even if they were just going to chop out elements of the old stuff and just say, hey, we're going to deprecate this function and this function and this function because nobody's using it, the redoing of things, the making it look fancier, the making it run slower, those were all added effort and decisions that they made, which has no payoff at all. Again, seriously, game. What am I supposed to be clicking to select a character? What do I have to do to select this character? I have to wait till the timer and the timeout runs before I can just do what I want to do. And that moved me to the next phase, which is not what I wanted to do. I literally cannot play the game. I literally cannot play the game because there's now this new bug. Like, they fix one bug and then they just put in a different bug. It's so ridiculous. Just gonna go around the edges of this guy.
Let's try this.
It's so bad. Moving on, Game Sutra has an article designing around panic in the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Why they're talking about the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which is the VR Walking Dead game that was good, not to be confused with the Walking Dead game that was not good that came out about a year ago. In all fairness, this is definitely not new, so I can only assume that they had nothing better to write about. It's not even the standard Gamma Sutra. We're gonna retweet about an old article. Maybe they pulled out their VR headsets to play Half-Life Alexa, which, take note, nobody is talking about Half-Life Alex, not Alexa. Oops. Yeah, nobody's talking about Half-Life Alex. It was, from what I hear, too short and maybe a little too simplistic a game, particularly if you took the VR elements out. So yeah, I think it was good. I think it was short and sweet. I don't think, just by the looks of it, that you're going to you saved or you in any way saved the VR industry. How many cards do I have left? 21. Yeah. With that one game, I don't think they saved the VR industry or pushed it forward so that it could actually be viable. Draw 7 cards. If this guy wasn't going to win right now. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Valve shares Artifact 2.0 placeholder art and plans. Although that is really teasing just the relaunch and reboot of Artifact, isn't it? That is something that I don't think people can really abide. Like, the idea that Valve is going to get a do-over and be able to try to have a secondary hype cycle for Artifact and just start over again. I don't think so, no. I mean, I may talk about their announcements and whatever things they tease, but it all is going to be in the category and in the mentality of they failed once and they more than likely will fail a second time. DraftSim, which is the website that synchronizes with the untapped.gg app that does the decks on the sides. They have had an article here that probably would have helped me before I played that Arena Cube had I read it. Let's see. I don't know. I haven't seen this where people just take, I guess, terrible cards and bend them around to make a cube. Let's see. None of these cards seemed like they were in the cube. Let's see. So this might have explained it a lot better to me. Top archetypes: 3 to 5 color, good stuff bombs control, a green ramp, a red white aggro, and then some sample decks being posted here. Like some things here that probably would have helped me. I don't know if that would have really in any way affected my experience with the cube. It still sounds like there was a high chance of failure with the cube. Like, here's a complete card list, and I don't know if all these cards were offered to me. No, I definitely know all these cards weren't offered to me. I was not offered that many white cards at all. So somehow in the cube I got a random selection subset of a larger kind of random selection subset of cards, and that probably doomed me. I'm fairly certain we didn't have that as a card to play. Yep. In general, I would think the cube idea, look as I'm scrolling through cards here, the cube idea might work in Magic Arena, but it's got to basically be free. I think what you do is you have Brawl playable all the time. You have Cube come out on Wednesdays, and then playable all the time. But a new Cube come out all the not Brawl. Brawl's the wrong phrase. I'm thinking of Hearthstone. They should have Commander playable at all times, because Commander is a constructed gameplay style. They should make cubes a random selection of cards that get refreshed every Wednesday. The cube games should be free. The Commander games should be free. I think Magic in particular should be cheaper and more generous than Hearthstone, not less generous. Even if they were the same levels of generosity as Hearthstone, that would be a major improvement as far as Magic is concerned, because Magic is super greedy even in the digital format. I'd even play with ads, frankly. If they just wanted to put ads up and be way more generous with the cards and the golds and the gems, because of that, I would be willing to even do that. Although I would probably still ad block at that point and not show those ads on my streams, just in an effort alone to prevent content ID claims. Which, yeah, my most recent content ID claim was from Lego, showing off the commercial, which shouldn't be copyrightable. Showing off the new Mario Lego sets that are soon to come out, I believe. Okay, I'm doomed. Moving on, Gamma Sutra Infinity Ward team has a tactical multiplayer designer position in Woodland Hills, California. Why those are still hiring, I don't know. When all of California seems to be in shutdown mode. Okay. So somebody found that a single line of code in Mario 64 was improperly animating the smoke that follows Mario when he's on fire. So this is the way it looked, and I imagine they just knew about it and didn't want to fix it and didn't care. This is the way I believe it looked originally, and with the one line of code fix, this is the way it was supposed to look. Now, arguably, on a standard N64 in some weird scenario, I wouldn't be surprised if this rendered worse or took up more GPU, CPU power than they were willing to let it than this did, because this is kind of a solid black object texture, whereas this is more of a transparent texture. But yeah, it's another story. We've heard a couple stories, like Aliens Colonial Marines apparently had a one-line misspelling problem that completely ruined the AI of the aliens in that game. At least that's allegedly what happened. What does that really mean for the average person? Not much. I mean, you'd really just have to hack your ROM to fix it, and it's such a small fix. And if you are going to get into ROM hacking, there's a lot more interesting things by adding new code you could do with Mario 64 than fixing the smoke or fixing one little problem here and there. Let's see. Max says I'm gonna head out. See ya. Okay, Max, thanks for sticking around. Alright, we're about to win if we can pull this off. Can we get an early win against 30? Here we go. Take that. Do that. Kill that guy. Do that. Do that. And attack here. TechRaptor has an article. Konami officially denies Silent Hill rumors. I thought they did that 2 or 3 weeks ago. On top of this, there are rumors of Resident Evil 8 coming out and being in development. They're coming out in like a year. Apparently it's going to be called Resident Evil Village. I haven't seen a lot about it though. And these are just kind of rumors. I think it's going to bring back Chris Redfield. I don't think the guy from Resident Evil 4 is ever coming back. What is his name? I don't think that's Chris. Chris is from 5. And I think he was in 6 too. Let's see. Do we want to do anything here? Well, we could tap somebody. Or we can just attack here. And attack here. And move forward. Yeah, I don't imagine that there's going to be too much of a deal The big questions with the next Resident Evil game in the series is, since Resident Evil 3 is kind of getting panned as being too short and being potentially farmed out to a third-party developer, a B team type group. I don't know if that was inside the company or outside of the company, but it seems like people feel like a B team worked on that. That might be the bad Resident Evil game for a while, and if Resident Evil Resistance and Resident Evil 3 Remake is the bad game, then Capcom has majorly improved as far as the bad Resident Evil games, and that gives a little bit of hope that the good game might be the Resident Evil 8 will continue the path of being a good game. It should be. If anything, the remake of 2 and 3 should have given them plenty of time to make sure Resident Evil 8 is a good one. But yeah, there is also a concern. I shouldn't have played that. There's a concern here that since it was an American Western team that worked on Resident Evil 7, if the Japanese teams take the reins again and they turn out something that's bland and repetitive, and we get something like Resident Evil 6 or even 5, that's not going to be good enough. And I think 7 was the kind of reboot of the gameplay style, so I don't think another reboot of the style or a return to form, either one of those is going to really be appreciated. We kind of want to continue with the gameplay style that was in 7. So there's definitely some hurdles that they could get tripped up on making Resident Evil 8. But I think they're in a decent position to make the game good, as long as they actually try and take the right lessons from 7. Hopefully they're smart enough to realize that the DLC parts of Resident Evil 7 that nobody really played, that were more like the Japanese, I think the Japanese teams made those weren't as well received. And I kind of wouldn't be upset if the main game and the main story was the Western team, and then the silly crazy stuff like the DLC in 7 was just the Japanese teams. Like there might be some synergy there. Things like mercenary mode in Resident Evil 4 certainly weren't the major element that brought people into playing Resident Evil 4 even particularly liked, but I kind of appreciated that they existed, or that it did exist. And at a certain point, yeah, Resident Evil does just get silly, because you have potentially infinite upgraded guns that kill zombies in one hit. We got it. So no reason to lollygag around this. Is that everybody? Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Skin and Bones, which looks like a low effort platforming game. Yep. Nothing interesting there. $3.99 discounted. That's too expensive also. Yep. So I'm not going to put that on the fall list. And we have about 20 more articles, and I would say only about 5 of them are actually games, so we could probably burn through a lot of this. And that was our first win for the day, so I'll probably have to play a lot off screen. Let's see. Magic Arena's forums has acquiring Godzilla series monster card styles in MTG Arena, which Way one is by purchasing the Ikora Layer Behemoth booster bundles. Whenever you purchase in-game booster bundles with at least 6 packs, you'll receive a Godzilla series monster style card. Godzilla. So if you pre-order, you get 10. If you buy 90 packs, you'll get 18. So have 1800 gems, or you spend gems, or at the minimum 18,000 gems, at minimum 1,200 gems. So spend money is the first way to get those Godzilla skins, which I kind of would like the Godzilla skins, but I'm certainly not gonna spend a lot of extra money or spend any extra money or energy to get them. It would be nice to own them. But the other way, you could participate in the Ikora Layer Behemoth limited events. If you enter Ranked Draft, Traditional Draft, or Sealed Draft, you'll also receive one of these card styles as a bonus reward per event, regardless of a win-loss record. So I will be doing ranked drafts, so I'll potentially get them. The exception there is you don't get Godzilla King of Monsters. The only way, and I assume that is also true when buying these packs, you don't get Godzilla King of Monsters. To get Godzilla King of Monsters, you have to buy real world cards, it seems. Or craft it with wild cards. Wait, so you can craft the skin of a card using wild cards. You'll need to search for Zolith Strength Incarnate because that's technically the actual name of the card. And that's the weird thing about all these Godzilla series skins, is that they're for other cards under different names. It's a real crazy idea. It's basically implementing a mod on top of your game, which I imagine you could do that if you wanted to. You could install a mod that would completely change all of the characters and all the art. I know Hearthstone had an adult mod that would change all the art slightly to have some adult content in it. I always thought that was kind of a silly pointless addition, but heck, if you were going to play Hearthstone for as much as they wanted you to play Hearthstone, and that's the thing you wanted to stare at, I can't really blame you. This continues, this forum post. Is there duplicate protection? Yes. What happens when I collect all 18? Once you have all 18, nothing else happens. All 18 excluding Godzilla King of Monsters. Will all 19 be localized? Can I receive the card style without owning the cards? Yes. What about showcase card styles? As with Throne of Eldraine and Theros Beyond Death showcase styles, we're planning on a way for players to acquire the Ikora Layer Behemoth showcase card styles in MTG Arena. More details on the later date. This is probably the first time I've experienced it, and probably the first time that Magic Arena has had to really deal with special skins. It might be the first time Magic in general has had majorly different special skins for the card games. And then the first comment here is really question mark. The second comment is really So yeah, apparently people are not liking their offering, and I can't really blame them. It does seem like it is a major push to make people purchase more. TechRaptor has that article I talked about. Cookstar music reportedly ripped from Cooking Mama. Cookstar music reportedly ripped from YouTube, and other oddities data mined. So yeah, the drama around this game is very high, considering it's just a Cooking Mama game. And Cooking Mama, I kind of wanted it to be an interesting series that gained a lot of popularity when it first came out, but it never really did, and I don't think it ever really will. I would just have to assume that cooking games and cooking mini games are not as popular as I would have thought they would have been. And there probably is a pretty obvious reason there of if you want to learn to cook, and if you want to cook, you probably should just go cook. Even if you are relatively young, even a 12 to 14-year-old can get in the kitchen and cook quite a lot of things under minimal parent supervision. So there kind of is no reason for that, for a video game version of that. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Analgesic has open sourced its Zelda-like adventure game Anodyne, which is interesting. Although I'd have to kind of question Zelda-like. It does look like Zelda, and they've put the source code, art, level editor, and music on GitHub, which makes me feel like this game, Anodyne, never really gained enough popularity or something. And the danger here is that we will start to see a bunch of Zelda-like games on Steam in the same way that we see RPG Maker games flood Steam. Speaking of flooding Steam, Rethink Evolved 4 is out. This guy makes several games under the Rethink brand. Rethink and then Rethink Evolved, which they kind of look like they're Portal laser games, and they kind of look like they're somewhat decently done, but he does have a dangerously large number of games that he's sold. But it's not like he's putting out something every week or so. If we look at his entire listing here, let's see. The weird thing, I think, is the naming scheme is that the thing that really kills him. Kills his credibility somewhat. So here you can see April 6, 2020 is Rethink Evolved 4, but then Rethink 3 was August 26, 2019, but then Rethink Evolved 3 was May 13th, 2019. So it's almost like the Evolved series is predating the regular series. And then you have Rethink 2, but then Rethink Evolved 2, and then Rethink Evolved, then Rethink. And I own Rethink, and I'm going to play it at some point, and that will certainly tell me if I want to continue playing them. These games also get more expensive as you go up there, with Rethink Evolved 4 being $8.99, whereas the first Rethink game was $1.50 now. And they almost certainly have not really evolved much as games. I would assume that they are extremely similar, just slightly different puzzles. And so I kind of know that going in. Let's see. Next, TechRaptor has an article here. Inside Xbox April 2020 is set to show off Grounded and more. I think this occurred in this presentation, and I totally missed it. And I don't think too much was said because I didn't see any bit of news talking about it. I think a lot of these events that are just going to show off games and show off trailers of games are going to get severely underreported and underhyped, which is a good thing, I think, for the video game industry, because the video game industry is habitually overhyped for games and overhyping games. Do I want them to hit me, or do I want to block? Let's just go ahead and block. Alright, we're gotta be careful here. Play this. So we could have lost there. We were definitely gambling it. Do we want to wait a turn? I think we can safely. TechRaptor has an article, Shinsekai Into the Depths review. I haven't heard of this game. It looks to me like it is maybe a scuba diving point and click adventure from the looks of it. Maybe more of an action submarine game. Let's see. I haven't heard anything about this. They gave it an 8.8, dripping with atmosphere and filled with replayability. Shinsekai Into the Depths is possibly the best thing to come out of Apple Arcade yet. It's an Apple Arcade game. Pros are great use of music and gameplay to create atmosphere, amazingly enjoyable to explore, plenty of replayability from extra mode and collectibles, very interesting non-standard narrative delivery. Cons are that it's too easy and it could be a little longer. And yeah, if it is an Apple Arcade game, that certainly explains why I don't recognize it. Like that. And that. And can't do anything else. Next, we have a game on Steam called Lost Memories 3 Side Stories. Looks like it's just an RPG Maker game. Possibly a Chinese RPG Maker game. The thumbnail is interesting, but none of the other art looks particularly good, and 4:3 ratio for no reason. It's free to play, single player, English and Chinese. So I don't know how they make any money or plan on making any money there. But yeah, it looks like an NES game, and that is to be expected from a lot of game developers in China, since they've been basically making NES games for decades and have not caught up with the time. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article, Darkest Dungeon, The Butcher's Circus is no joke. Apparently this was an April Fool's Day announcement that is really going to happen, which might be the only actual April Fool's Day announcement that of any note that actually happened in the video game industry. Yeah, which I was rather happy with the lack of April Fool's Day announcements in general. Hopefully that becomes a new tradition. TechRept has an article. Chinatown Detective Agency is on the case. This looks like a weird looking point and click adventure, for lack of a better term. Let's see. Is this out yet? Apparently it's on PC but not Steam because they don't have a link here. It's a Kickstarter game that they're hyping up as definitely not the look of a game that should be on Kickstarter. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. The 2D puzzle platformer Emma Lost in Memories is coming to the PS4 and the Vita in May. Still making Vita games apparently. Let's see. It first launched on PC August 2019. So instead of us watching the trailer, let's just jump to the Steam account. That makes more useful information for me. Because if this is some kind of hidden gem on Steam, it came out August 16th, 2019. It has 2 user reviews. It looks like it is a frustration platformer, Super Meat Boy style game. Seems like everywhere she touches disappears. And yeah, this is the exact style of game I would never want to play. $11.99, bunch of languages. Both of these reviews are positive, but they received them for free. So I can't really trust any of the positive reviews. The game actually looks particularly boring here too. There's just no enemies and no collectibles by the looks of it. It's just platforming. Okay. I screwed up there. Or whatever. We might be able to still win here. Okay. So yeah, Emma Lost in Memories coming to new platforms. Not really worth owning on those new platforms by the looks of the Steam version. Next we have a game called Ulflegrim, which looks like a Crypt of the Necrodancer style dungeon crawler, done and animated a lot worse. Yeah. $6.79 discounted, English only. Nothing there. TechRaptor has this article. Uniqlo, I don't know this brand, is celebrating Mario's 35th with a new line of t-shirts, which really makes it feel like Nintendo has licensed themselves to a lot of things and a lot of branding for their 35th anniversary. Maybe that is how Lego finally got them to let them do a set, is also because of that. Like, I would have just assumed that Nintendo could have partnered with their own manufacturer of clothing and sold their own clothing lines instead of partnering with name brands, but maybe they didn't want to bother with it. But yeah, I don't know where a company like Uniqlo adds anything to a Mario shirt compared to if you just saw a Mario shirt inside a Walmart or a Target. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. Ishigami no Kizuna is now available in Japan. Characters from the Osamu Tezuka works transformed into beautiful girls. I've heard of Osamu Tezuka. I can't remember though what series he would have been from though. And I don't know what this would represent. I doubt this game is coming to the West. I'd love if it was, but I doubt it, really. Would. Although, if anything has a chance of coming to the West, I would say cell phone games have a higher chance than most. OpenCritic has an article here that Last of Us Part 2 has been removed from the PlayStation Store. Part of the argument I think that's happening is not only can they not sell the games inside of the physical versions of Last of Us inside of like GameStops that are supposed to be shut down because they're not essential. I think sections of supermarkets like Walmart's have also been told in many sections to shut down. So like even if you went into a Walmart supercenter, even though it would have groceries and those would be essential, either Walmart on their own has said we're not going to restock and man and clean those sections, we're just going to gate them off, the video game sections, the toy sections, things like that. Or they've been told to gate those sections off and not man them. Either one of those is fairly believable. What's not believable is I actually have victory here. I am surprised by that. I am super surprised to have a victory here. So there really may be no place that would sell video games physically right now. I don't even know if Amazon.com would sell video games right now, because they may just all be focusing on food and water and toilet paper and things like that. Moving on, OpenCritic has an article, Inside Xbox returns tomorrow. This was the 6th, with more information. That happened, and again, nobody seems to have really reported on it. Or maybe it hasn't happened. What is today's date? Today's 8th, yeah. It happened, and it must have just been such an unimportant announcements or trailers that I saw nobody talking about it at all. I heard more people talking about this hot take somebody had, complaining that Jill Valentine in Resident Evil 3 was vulnerable and violence could be enacted upon her in the same way that violence can be enacted upon any character, any protagonist or character in a video game. Which, I mean, talk about just never being enough for some social justice warriors out there. They're literally writing an article saying that the main protagonist character should have such special treatment that they're invulnerable. Which that is a clear example of benevolent sexism, when you feel that one gender has to be protected and treated specially from a positive way. Or from a perceived positive perspective. That's way too many P's to say in a row, but moving on, Gamasutra has an article. There's a blog here for game discoverability, to demo or to not demo. I would argue to not demo on Steam in particular. Here they have a paragraph: the separate Steam demo explosion continues. Let's see. I just don't think demos are a great way to put your game forward. I don't think it really matters. Even right now, when people are probably rather antsy about spending money, I doubt that the concept or idea is running into people's heads that they could go and play a bunch of demos on Steam. Instead, they would rather just play their backlog, I imagine, on Steam. The truth is, people just have so many games on Steam already that the concept of a demo was murdered a long time ago because of that. It's just something that's not even going to be a consideration for most people. Like, on top of Last of Us and Iron Man VR being delayed, they've automatically refunded everybody who pre-ordered those games, which is an admittance that they don't expect this delay to be a week or two. They expect it to be a lot longer. And I think that is the right way to go, is to expect a month to 6 months, like maybe all the way to the end of the year or longer. Next we have a game on Steam that's just a bunch of Asian characters. This looks like it is a Chinese Diablo game. Diablo clone, if I was to guess. Actually doesn't look too bad, but English is not supported. It's free. It's an MMO with in-app purchases, Chinese only. It's actually got a lot of cleavage there for a Chinese game too. Let's see. Let's see. PlayStation's new controller was announced, and people seem to be memeing on it pretty hard. I imagine they won't all be in white. I've seen people complain about the secondary L2 triggers potentially being in the wrong places, and the touchscreen still is pretty big and 2 buttons here. It looks fine. It looks like they're not changing too much. The biggest thing I would complain about would be that it being all white, because I imagine very quickly that's going to get rather dirty. There isn't a lot of like interesting things here. I could say these buttons look like they are oddly further apart than these D-pad unconnected buttons are, and this is not really capable of 8-way directionality, so some fighting game enthusiasts are not going to like that controller. The touchscreen probably doesn't need to be diagonally like that. I don't think that's ever going to have any use. As much as I like symmetry, I don't think that the left stick should be here. I prefer the Xbox version where the left stick is up here and then the right stick is down there. These buttons are pretty high up, and the angle looks a little weird on the connectors, but it really doesn't look like I'm about to lose, am I not? Oops. Apparently I should have blocked some of those, or I couldn't block some of those. Hmm. Games Radar has an article here that apparently there's a Disco Elysium Switch port currently in development. Okay. Well, we'll take that as true. That seems believable. Gamma Sutra has an article. Phil Spencer says launch price will be, quote, critical to the success of the Xbox Series X. I would totally agree with that. That being said, I almost assume that the launch price will still be incredibly expensive. And I don't know how you get the launch price down any lower. Really. There's only a few things you could do. You could throw in like Xbox services, Xbox Online services and such for free. And that might make the price seem a little bit more attractive without actually lowering the price. But I think you only get one controller when you get the game anyways. Get a console. I don't think you get two controllers ever with the Xbox. Unless there was some special bundle. So I don't know what they could really cheap out on that. Not include an HDMI cord. That'll save maybe $5 at most. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some payment plan type options that do get thrown out there with the Series X, where it is some kind of like financing potential option. But I think when people see the non-financed version price and they see that that's got to be $500 or more, that is going to be a little bit too expensive for some people. This will be our last game. I'm losing a little steam and we've been going long enough. We have a game on Steam here called Historia, which looks to me like it's a low-effort RPG game. They got a couple of interesting characters that they drew or got somewhere else, and then kind of did nothing with them. You're just fighting pigmen. Early access, $10.19 English only. This feels like a game where there might be somebody who's actually a good artist and just not really a good video game play concept designer, and you might be better off just taking his art and making something like a web comic or a comic book or something like that. Heck, just putting your art up on whatever website, DeviantArt or whatever they use these days. I don't think it's DeviantArt, and I don't think it's Tumblr. It's probably Instagram, if I was to guess. Yeah, I'm slightly shifting my description, by the way. In scheduling the most recent videos, I've removed the link to my Tumblr account. It's still there. I don't think anybody ever used it. It was always an automated process, so I'm just going to leave it there. But I don't think my content ever really synergized with Tumblr, and it's just there for convenience. And then I also took off the link to my battle.net information. Again, still there. You could friend me on battle.net, but I don't believe I'm ever going to play any Activision Blizzard game again, so I just remove that too. Trying to have more of a focus. My main goals should be right now get people to support me on Patreon. That would be number one. And if some new service comes out that can actually replace Patreon, that would be great too. A more free speech supporting platform than Patreon is becoming, or has been in the past. But yeah, just trying to get people to either follow me on Facebook or Twitter, or yeah, I'd say my priority is probably Twitter, but I don't mind people following me on Facebook either. And then subscribing to me, whatever the free option is called on Twitch. That's nice too. I don't think I'd ever switch to Twitch, but it'd be nice to have that option. I guess if I got enough subscribers on Twitch to actually be monetized on Twitch, I'd skip over to that, or at least try it for a while. But yeah, trying to clean things up and be a little bit less all over the place. Although there's kind of nothing wrong with the content creator having pages on almost any site that might be of any value to somebody. Moving on, we have Northern Tale 5 Revival, which looks like it is a resource management real-time strategy game for $5.99. English full audio and then a bunch of other languages. Komatsu has an article here. The action RPG Eternal Radiance launches for PC via Steam Early Access April 19th. You make friends, fight monsters, and explore the world in the pursuit of stolen ancient artifact. Yep, looks like it's a standard JRPG type game. We haven't been watching a lot of the trailers. Let's skip through here and see what it looks like. It's 3D, which I wasn't really expecting that. Yeah, nothing. Doesn't look too terrible. It doesn't look like it's a cell phone game or cell phone level graphics. Although there is a lot of blankness and emptiness in a lot of this. So if this is early access, I'll go ahead and just put that on the fall list. Yeah, we'll go ahead and just have that on the fall list on Steam, and we'll keep an eye out on it. It's English and Chinese. Interesting. So it's not even a JRPG, it's a, well, Asian RPG, Chinese RPG. Next, we have a game on Steam called Notrif 112 Die Feuerwehr Simulator Showroom. This seems to me like it is a German language emergency services vehicle simulator, but it doesn't seem like there's much of a game. It's just highlighting 3D models of some emergency service vehicles. It's free, and it says it's in English and German. But certainly this doesn't read like it's in English. But whatever. I guess if you're interested in a free game that shows some 3D models of German emergency vehicles, that's something you can do. Next, we have a game on Steam called Thrillgate, which looks like it is a point-and-click adventure game. Looks pretty ugly. Looks a little low effort. But I am a sucker for point-and-click adventure games, so I'm going to put it on the fall list anyways. $10.79 discounted, English and Italian. The price is too high for what I'm seeing here. It really is. But I'll leave it. Again, I am way too much of a sucker for point-and-click adventure games. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article. Xbox Game Pass adds Journey to the Savage Planet, Alvestia Chronicles, and more in April. I have no idea what Alvestia Chronicles is. See, Nier Automata Become as Gods Edition would be way more interesting as a Games Pass thing to mention. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say there. Stranger Things the game, Football Manager 2020, Mist Over, Journey to a Savage Planet. Yakuza Kiwami is coming soon. Gamasutra has a job listing for Remedy Entertainment, a gameplay designer in Espoo, Finland, from the creators of Control. So they're working on their next game design, apparently. They're starting to work on that. No, I'm just gonna pass and let this go. Gamatsu has the PS5 DualSense controller revealed. Do they have any other images? Yeah. There's complaints here that these triggers, since the controller is sitting on these, you could easily bump the controller and hit the buttons. Apparently that is a issue currently. And I don't really have a lot of other things to show or say there. Yeah. There's kind of nothing groundbreaking there. Although the light is missing. There is something to be said about that, yeah. This part here, the light bar, is missing from the controllers. And the light bar, even though these sides here line up, the light bar was the thing that the PlayStation Eye was using and VR was using to sense where you were holding the controller. Which is to assume either they've improved their technology or they're giving up on the PlayStation Eye for either a more improved PlayStation Eye, which they should because it's been 2 generations of PlayStation since they've upgraded the PlayStation Eye, or they've given up on the PlayStation Eye being a part of the VR path, or given up on VR also, and or got given up on VR, I suppose. It could be a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. But yeah, without that light bar, the controller is no longer usable on with the PlayStation Eye and VR. We're not making great progress in our ranked gameplay, and we're not making great progress on the number of wins either. We've got like 4 more tabs. Here's a game on Steam called Path of Aura, which is a space game. It doesn't look impressive to me. I don't like space games in the first place. They're $19.99 English full audio. Yep, nothing there. Nothing more to say. Let's see. And then we have a game called Down the Hole, which immediately by the looks of it looks like it's just a garbage game by somebody who doesn't even know how to make their perspective look good. This is a terrible angle to depict a game. $8.49 discounted English full audio. And then actually, I had a couple tabs. So I wanted to mention this Minecraft Java map called Witchcraft and Wizardry, the Flu Network is available, and it basically is Harry Potter in Minecraft, with a lot of mini games and a lot of elements here. If I have any extra time, I will, I think, want to play this and check it out, because it does seem very interesting, and very well designed. Like, that is a lot of design for Minecraft, and it, so yeah, that's rather impressive. And then Magic had Ikora Layer BMOS Mastery System. The new Mastery Pass will up to 30 booster packs, 5 Mastery Orbs, which give you card styles. Interesting. If you're only getting 5 orbs, that is way less orbs than previous Masteries. When you purchase the Mastery Pass, you also earn the Ikora Cub, an avatar called Luca, Coppercoat Outcast, sleeves and cards, and booster packs. I don't know what half of these even stand for. Theros Beyond Death. Is that what THB stands for? 4 additional cub mutations. So it seems like this pass will give you a different experience than what previous masteries offered. Like, if there are only 5 of these, that has considerably less orbs. And since they're giving away the skins in a different way, I imagine you're going to have considerably less skins also popping up. So it might actually come down to the point where the 3,000 gems that I assume it's going to cost to get the Mastery Pass is the thing that we should, that might not, it might not actually be worth it, this expansion, to get the Mastery Pass. This is weird too, because it says completed 1, and I don't know what that means. Like, even if the completed at the bottom doesn't have anything to do with the number 1, what does the number 1 mean? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, because we are at level 104. It stopped at level 90. I have no idea. Let's see, if we go in the collection, we don't even have any new cards to really show off, because we haven't been winning enough to get enough experience to go any further. Alright, so then that brings us to the Humble Bundle and my Twitter feed, and let's see if there's any new bundles. I suspect not. Apparently there's a Stardock strategy bundle. 3 of the bundles are ending relatively quickly, so we may have some new bundles on Wednesday. Let's see. Stardock Strategy Bundle has Sorcerer King Rivals, Dead Man's Draw, Galactic Civilizations, Star Control. All these games were under disputed ownership at some point last year. I guess that got cleared up. $13 to get a bunch of games, a bunch of space games. That was not particularly interesting to me. And then that brings me to my Twitter feeds. Let's see. Gamasutra has a Valve's breakdown of Steam launch earnings, says success is on the rise. Which of course Valve would say that. Let's see. World of Tanks Blitz offers real moon property with new mode. Is that like moon rocks they're giving away? Let's see. Observer System Redux announced. Next gen reveal set for April 16. So a sequel to Observer. That's not a game that I think was amazingly well received. Embracer Group raises $164 million to acquire more studios and publishers. I'm just gonna mention these titles and then if there's something more. Shift services for Borderlands and such are being taken down for scheduled maintenance. One Punch Man has a DLC character. Nobody liked that game, so nothing there. A 1 to 4 player co-op dwarf real-time strategy called Dwarfheim is coming. Let's see. Scrolling down. Trying to see if there's any bit of news. Like, it's so slow, I really don't even need to be looking at my Twitter feed. I could just end the stream right now. And it probably would be perfectly fine because it's not like we're going to have a major amount of new bits of information to report on Friday even. It's just going to be incredibly slow, which is great for me. It gives me a lot of time to goof off, recover. That's pretty much what I need to be doing, is trying to heal my back and maybe get back to recording some more pre-recorded footage. Here's Gamasutra's article. Valve's breakdown of Steam launches earnings, says success is on the rise. Here's a chart. Number of games earning at least 10,000 in the first 2 weeks. It does seem like it is going up. Number of games earning at least 10,000 in the first 2 weeks. If they had just followed the trend of 2013, which there really is no reason why it would have followed the trend of 2013, but it is a major jump there. So I'm not going to completely dismiss that. Let's see, here's TechRaptor's article. World of Tanks Blitz offers a new moon property with new mode. I don't think I'd want to play World of Tanks even if they were going to give away moon rocks. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Or they're giving away parts of the moon as if they're claiming, like naming a star. Those scams where you can name a star and it be registered in this unofficial registry that doesn't matter. Anyways, Gamatsu has Observer System Redux announced. Okay. Is there much we want to take from this? Observer was the kind of weird horror game where you're walking around the weird apartment. Let's see. It doesn't seem like it's just a remake of the old game, though. It's being hashtagged as Observer 2 by Gamatsu. Yeah. I wanted to double check that. Here's Gamma Sutra. Embracer Group raises $164 million. Embracer Group is the parent company of THQ Nordic, so yeah, THQ Nordic effectively is going to be trying to acquire more companies. We pretty much could have assumed that. Here's Dwarfheim, a 1-4 co-op game. I kind of might be into this idea if you were going to go with like a Warcraft type game, Warcraft 1, not World of Warcraft type clone. There might be something in that idea, something, some bit of nostalgia I could get out from that. Here we have a game called Humanity on Steam, which is just an asset flip first person shooter game with some aliens. Actually, it does have a little bit more polish to it, so I'm gonna put it on the fall list. I'm being too generous, definitely, but. And then for our final article, we have TechRaptor give a royal welcome to Final Fantasy XIV Save the Queen patch, which adds new quests, items, and more. I believe there was a queen in Final Fantasy XIV, if I recall correctly, and it's weird that they're still patching in content to that game, trying to improve upon it. Alright, well, that's going to be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos because that helps me with YouTube. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get the big game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching.